the opportunities to build their soft skills needed in the industry today. So our history, the community was started in 2019 officially, but myself had a community of African women in GIS Nigeria chapter in 2017, whereas Sihana, my co-founder, Sihana Williams, my co-founder from Ghana, had hers in April 2019. We met on LinkedIn and with sharing the same mutual interest of building women, of supporting women, of creating a safe space for women in the industry. We decided to merge our different communities together to form a uniform body to fight for women, to bridge the gap in the industry, because we know that women shy away from STEM-related disciplines, being that is male-dominated. So women tend to shy away from such, and that we have a lack of role models for such women in the industry. So having met together and merged our community, since 2019, we have experienced exponential growth. For example, when I started in 2017, I have about 41 members from Nigeria, and Ghana had about 11 members, and one from Burkina Faso. But since then till now, we have more than 500 women who are in the community, and every day we are having new requests. You know, women believe in community. Women tend to have more confidence and boldness when they know they have a strong support system somewhere, rooting for them, cheering them on, and supporting their dreams. So the community have encouraged more women to embrace and be bold and be proud of their career paths, and not to be intimidated by the trend in the industry of having more men than women. So over time, we have grown from there about 53 members to more than 500 members now across the different countries in Africa, measuring Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Egypt, and South Africa. Most of our members are in Nigeria, of course, and we have more from Eastern Africa, where you have lots of enterprising geospatial industry taking up, and they have more conducive environments there than over here at West Africa. But as the time I believe with some things will change, and West Africa will embrace GIS more. Same thing with Northern Africa. But for now, our members are scattered all over Africa and all over the country, the world. Because from this map now, you can see that we have members who are not even living within Africa. We have some in US, we have some in Southern America, Asian countries, Europe, India, but they are all Black women, because our community is majorly for Black women. We do not allow, of course, we have sister organizations like Women in Geospatial Plus that encompasses everybody. But for African women in GIS, we focus more on African women especially, because we in Africa, in the geospatial industry in Africa, we are still having a gender gap in the industry, and we tend to bridge it by encouraging more women to step in and to take over some of the workforce as needed. All right, so now what influenced our existence? What are the fundamental issues that caused the community to be formed? Myself, I had this experience of since I started my journey into GIS, from my BSc to my MSc, we will have more men in the class than women. For example, my BS said I did the geography and meteorology, I was the only lady in the class of 20-something students. So it sort of make me to be kind of shy and also confident whether I'm in the right career path or not. And then again, my master's, we had the same experience. We had about 36 of us, and about only three ladies. Oh, sorry, about 4 ladies in the class of 36. So it was not so encouraging. If that what prompted me to form the Women in GIS Nigeria then, before merging with Sihana. And funny enough, this issue cuts across the whole of Africa. We see women, when we ask them why did they join the community, they're like, I'm the only one in my office, I'm the only one in my workplace, I'm the only one in the school, and you kind of feel discriminating that nobody to discuss about the struggles they're encountering, nobody to talk to understand their pain of being a woman or in a men-dominated industry. So that was one of the reasons why we have more women joining us, because here we make this space very safe for them. They come, they pour out their worries, they come, they pour out their issues they're encountering in their workplaces or in their education. We profile solutions to them, we give them support the much we can. So it's more like a family unit than a community. Okay, so still going back to what prompted in the community to being formed, we have like a proper career guidance. Going on in Africa, we know that women are always pushed to go towards female-oriented disciplines like being a classroom teacher or going to healthcare sector. Leaving the STEM industry being deficient of women. And that's where the lack of proper career guidance comes in. Then lack of exposure to African female GIS role models. You can never neglect the impact of role models and mentors in any career growth. Is important. So of course, now we have almost bridged that gap. We're already closing that gap, but we still have some work to do to effectively close that gap of having more role models in the industry, female role models. Then again, is a lack of grassroots GIS benefit and application awareness among students as well as public. In Nigeria, for example, that geography is no longer a core subject, and is affecting most of the students who want to pursue a career or continue their education in geography or any geography-related discipline. And although the ANG, that's the Association of Nigerian Geographers, are fighting to include geography to be a core course for science students, and it is important. We need to bring down, because GIS, as we know, cuts across disciplines and industries, not just related, not just limited to geography alone. No, GIS is being used in the medical health sector, in the health sector, disaster preparedness and management and response, in agriculture. I mean, GIS cut across. So geography should be an important course, subject any young student should offer in the secondary schools. So we are, by this year, that's one of our goals this year, to create more awareness for GIS amongst our secondary school students, to encourage them to pick up geography again, to encourage them to create more interest in picking up with geography and venturing into the geospatial industry. And then again, the gender correctness of some African parents, like I said earlier, parents encourage students, their female daughters, their daughters to choose a less, I don't want to say the word less, because no career is less, but a more female-oriented discipline like teaching and working as nurses in the health sectors. Okay, then the career path problems of the issues encountered is a limited number of GIS jobs in Africa as a whole. inaccessible GIS job information, lack of female GIS mentors for career guidance, inaccessible or unaffordable GIS events and skill upgrade courses, and no knowledge of community members. We have tackled most of these career path problems, like you've been sharing information about opportunities, job opportunities with our members, often both local and international. And then again, you have our website where our members have them their profiles, so that what do I call it? Employers can easily have access to them, reach out to them, start going through their profile and offer them jobs, like a career profile for them on our website. Then the lack of GIS mentorship, we have tackled this by orienting or instituting a mentorship program. We just concluded our last year, and we'll be moving on to the fifth cohort called by February or March of this year, and it has been so successful because we have mentees who have no knowledge of GIS, from basic knowledge to being experts in their areas of specialization, through guided mentorship, 6 months guided mentorship. And at the end of the program, they do a project to showcase what they've learned, to tell the story of how the 6 months program has been for them. And the best projects, we award them either with an Esri GIS software license, or like last year we have a partnership with Digital Earth Africa, and the best, we are awarded some good cash prizes. So and these have encouraged more ladies to embrace mentorship. Because believe me, when you're starting a career path, you need a mentor who has been there, who understood the journey, and who is willing to put you through, to support you, to give you the needed advice and the knowledge. And of course, like I said earlier, we have tackled that issue of mentors and with our mentorship program. Then the issue of unaffordable GIS events is still prevailing. Although as a community, we have been holding webinars, different trainings, and speaking gigs for our members, training for our members and webinars, and even inviting experts from across the industry to guide our members through. But we are still seeking for a way to fund our members to go on physical conferences. Like last year, Joe for Good conference in Ghana. There's a conference in Ghana. Some of our members were there. Some were sponsored by Digital Earth Africa. Some just came on their own, but we need, Ghana is close by that. We ought to have more women attending the conference, but due to lack of funding, it makes it almost impossible to have our members there. So we are still seeking for a way to bridge that gap and to have more of our members attend physical conferences across the world, not just limited to Africa, but across the world. So that's one of the issues we are still having and still trying to tackle. Then knowledge of community membership, and this has been tackled with the social media trends. So you go onto online, you see a lot of job communities out there that are helping the women. Most are combined, both male and female, and most are organizing different webinars, conferences, hackathon, to train the capacity of the members. So I think this is being also addressed, because in the last 3 years, we saw an more outcrop of community memberships now across the world. We have more communities than we had 5 years ago, and most are virtual, making it accessible to all. making it more convenient for everyone to network and communicate. So I think this issue has been solved now. All right. Okay, how are we contributing to solving these problems? Like I said earlier, we've been organizing webinars across for our members. In 2020, we have our first webinar on International Women's Day. We have Dr. Dawn, a known scientist, she's a marine scientist and worked with Esri, and Dr. Catherine from NASA Harvest Africa. They spoke to our women on generation equality, creating awareness of the GIS world to the African women. And they're all Blacks, you know, they're of African descent. Then again, we have the 2020 Esri UC presentation. We have our co-founder Sihana presenting during the Esri user conference, creating more awareness. Then over here we had the collaboration with North Star GIS. It's still an ongoing collaboration, and it is a yearly collaboration where we meet together. We talk about GIS, we educate people, the usefulness of communities, and we explain to them, or we expose our members, because what we do is we, the co-founders, do not take up the presentation aspect. We put it out to our members, to our volunteers, to our team of volunteers and our members. We help most of them to come out of their shell, to be able to present publicly and internationally. And this have been helping bring them to limelight, and most have been getting jobs. Most have been getting jobs through good referrals from us and recommendations from us and from the activities in the community. So this brings us to our topic of today, that is the role of job communities in capacity building. Being exposed to this series of events, be it webinars, conferences, virtual presentation, has helped our women. I know how many we have that have gotten jobs for being volunteers in the community. And again, in our social media handles, that on our Twitter and on our LinkedIn, on Wednesdays we do members profile. We have our members, they submit their profiles. We feature them every Wednesdays on our profiles, highlighting their major activities, their major awards, their major contributions, you know, as throwing them out there to employers, throwing them out there for people to see them and know that we have such people person. And maybe for example, our former mentorship community manager got a good job as a senior advocate. And she's into building communities also. So we have lots of examples of how this community have helped women to come out of their shell. That's the most important thing, to come out of their shell, to embrace who they are, to embrace the career path they have chosen, and to be bold and proud of what they are doing. You know, if you have all the skills in this world and you are not proud to present your skills or your competencies, it's as good as being useless. So I use that word. So that's why we have been encouraging our women to take up speaking gigs. Originally, I'm not meant to be the one to present today, because we are shuffling our volunteer members, so we do not have anybody at present to take over. Normally, we should have a volunteer presenting. The community is not about myself and my co-founder, but about the community, the members entirely. We give up these speaking gigs for them to come and speak and showcase their talents and network with others in the industry. Okay, then you further have this kind of webinars where we had other external person coming to speak our women about how to write their proposal and gain admissions across in other countries. Then here we had our women talk about career goals. I mean, what led them to go into GIS? This is one of the best webinar I say we had, because we hear the story, the journey of these women, and it has not been an easy one. But according to them, thanks to the community, they are doing so well. Then again, we have many partnerships, collaborations with women in geospatial plus, with mappers, OpenStreet, mappers, geospatial, lots of them, IBISA, and these are volunteering opportunities. And our women have volunteered with them, they have a certification, they've learned, and they have increased in their knowledge and wisdom. So you expose them to all this partnership and collaboration. The second one we have now is with Digital Earth Africa, and it has been a wonderful journey with them. And our ever consistent partners is Northstar GIS, when in Geospatial, we've been having a lot of different webinars with them, and even we had one last year on how to pimp your LinkedIn profile, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile so that you have more employers or human resource managers being able to reach out to you and making your profile attractive, because that's some of the things we lack, we don't know about. But we have some who are already experts in these areas, and we get them to talk to our women to help them grow, help them to accept jobs, make them employable. That's the most important thing, make them employable by acquiring the different skills. And our volunteer opportunities help them to learn some soft skills needed, like organizing of events and doing other jobs needed, like managing, scheduling, and report works, and lots of them. Then we have this our website, like I said, our members are here. This is our member pool for career exposure, speaker, and consultation, that employers can easily reach out to them, contact them, whoever fits their profile or whoever they're looking for, contact them and be able to get them to work with them. And most have been able to get job or being reached out to through this platform. Then we have our blog, where we showcase we publish the works by our members, irrespective. Maybe like of recent, you have one that built an app. She's from Eastern Africa, so we will uploading her app, the link to her app, and it's on plant identification and things like that. We upload whatever achievement they have, no matter how late, so we celebrate it. And that's what matters. That's the support system we're talking about. It boosts their confidence, it boosts their boldness in doing more and achieving more. So this blog is for our women to showcase their achievements, to showcase whatever article they have, and create more exposure for them. Then this is our YouTube channel, where we host, we upload all our webinars, across different events. Then we have our physical meetups. We're still planning for more meetups across the zones, because we have zones, of course, Eastern Africa, Western Africa, Southern Africa, Central Africa, and Northern Africa. So, like I said, this year we're looking more towards physical events, and that will ensure members meeting each other physically and engaging in physical projects like awareness creation and physical meetups and getting to know themselves better. Then the last, of course, we are growing, and you can also join us, strictly for women. So you're inviting more women to join the community. Okay, so our mentorship program, Mentee Experience Highlights, like I said, we have concluded on the 4th cohort. We are going on towards the 5th cohort. And we have, like I said, we have gained a lot. I mean, the mentees have gained a lot, they have achieved a lot too. And this is the distribution of our past mentees and their testimonials. When you click through the story map, I believe it can be shared on the platform so that one can go through and see what our members, our mentees who are beneficiaries of these mentorship programs are saying. You know, it's better when you hear from the person that went through the program, like that myself that is explaining it. So in summary, communities are very vital in building capacities of their members because we have network of experts across different industry within the same discipline. Different, we have people working in NGOs, but people working in private establishments, government establishment, and academia. So even startups too. When you have these different expertise coming together to network and to share the knowledge, I believe that those upcoming can know who they want, where they want to specialize, and who they can look up to help them chart a good career path in their area. So in capacity building, you can never remove
sorry, Chidema, sorry to cut you short. You should be rounding up now.
Okay. So in summary, like I was saying, capacity, I mean, job communities are very important and plays vital roles in building capacity of our members and the community at large. So if you want to join us in as a member in African Women in GIS, I'll post the link in the chat group so you can click. Please, this is limited to only women, African women across the industry. Thank you. Your mic is muted.
Sorry about that. All right, so I was saying nice presentation, nice having you here, talking about what you're doing, your experience in women in GIS. We all know trying to get more women into the STEM field is something that has been taken seriously globally. And we're happy to see that the GIS is one of those fields that's also been worked upon. So thank you very much for your nice presentation. So also just to say it, if you do have questions, please use the Q&A option on your Zoom screen. All the questions will be attended to later at the end of the session. So please try to use that. We'll attend to it later. All right. So moving on. Next, I think next presenter. Yes, our next presenter is in. Okay, so I think we're still waiting for our next presenter. So I can also see there's someone's hand up, but don't worry, you'll be given time to speak later. Okay, so yes, just hold on to the thoughts or whatever questions or comments you do have, and you'll be given opportunity to speak on that later. So please, let's also check.
I think the next speaker was on our lap, but he just went off. It might have been a connection issue. So we can just sort of wait for a minute or so, and we'll see if he comes back on.
Okay.
You might attend to the question. I think there was a question in the Q&A.
Okay, I think we have a question. Okay, Chidema, this question I'm sure is probably directed at you. So Samuel asked that, can those in secondary school be allowed to join the group? So I'm guessing the meant can ladies, girls in secondary school be allowed to join join your group?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Because this year we're going to focus more on them. Have a group for them to onboard them on GIS and the different career paths they can chart in the industry. Yeah, so they are welcomed.
Okay. So Samuel, I suppose that answers your question. And also there's a link in the chat now for women how you can join the community. So you can please use that as well. So I think we have an hands up. But while we wait for us, maybe we can take this individual as well. So let's see what we have here. Oluwole Adeyemi. All right, so let's see what Oluwole Adeyemi has to say. So I'm going to give you permission so you can unmute if you have a comment or a question for the speaker. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and speak. Hello, Alain. Please speak, introduce yourself and speak. If you're trying to speak, please note we can't hear you right now.
I think the next speaker is about to come on, Ola. So hopefully in a few seconds we'll be on.
All right, so I think we have our next speaker in. So I'll just go straight into the session. All right, so our next speaker is Professor Effiong Oko from the Institute of Biopaleogeography, Poland. All right, so let me just a brief of introduction about Professor Effiong. He holds a PhD in soil physics and climate change science. He's trained at the University of Ibadan and Abdul Salam International Center of Theoretical Physics in Italy. He received the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency Fellowship for Africa Best and Brightest to study at the Institute of International Center of Theoretical Physics. Recently, he was appointed the Director of Research and Training at the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, that's NIMET. He was the Associate Research Professor of Land and Water at the University, at the United Nations University, which is headquartered in Japan. He was the head of Land and Water at this institute. He also coordinates the activities of the Vetiver Network International for Nigeria and Ghana. He current research interest in the fields of soil physics, agricultural metrology, climate change, agrohydrology, desert agriculture, and the green economy, which has resulted in scores of publication in international and national peer review journal. So Professor Effiong Oko is unfortunately not with us this morning, but is represented by Dr. Ifeka Adolphus, who is a principal meteorologist from the Nigeria Meteorological Agency. So Dr. Ifeka, are you ready? So
just went to,
yeah.
Getting back.
So while we wait for this, so please just a reminder again, as the presentations are going, please do feel free to use the chat tool or the Q&A session tool as well to drop in your questions or observations or comments, and we'll try as much as possible to answer everyone.
He's trying to come back on that, so we'll give him another 1 minute. If he's not able to get back on, we'll probably move to the next presentation. Your mic is muted, Ola.
All right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry for the network issues. I'm here to represent my boss, Professor Efionako, on reducing climate change impacts on people and community, role of Eko-Connect. Next slide, please. Okay, Nigerian Meteorological Agency is a parastatal of the Federal Ministry of Environment with statutory responsibility in providing meteorological services. That's NIMET. You can see the building. It's basically for National Weather Forecasting and Climate Research Center, where we observe the weather and we also make forecasting for the public. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the NIMET observations network across the country over Nigeria. You can see the legend, the air quality stations, the radar stations, the L1 station, that's a low level wind station. Then we have trim stations and synoptic stations. So NIMET has stations across the country. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the flooded maize field in Hadeja near Jigawa, and also this is a flood bridge cut off by runoff generated by heavy rainfall. So these are extreme weather events over Nigeria, and the source is this day newspaper, channels, television, and the other incident is flood incident in a community in Niger Delta in 2019. Next slide, please. This is also part of the extreme weather events across Lagos. We have over Malawi, drought over Malawi, then severe South African drought. So it's not just over Nigeria. The climate change and the extreme weather events cut across all countries in the world, both Africa and in Asia and other continents of the world. Next slide, please. Okay, what is the early warning system? The early warning system are integrated system which allows people to know whether there's adverse hazardous weather is on its way. That is to be able to prepare our level of preparedness to what is coming. And then the weather early warning is a key to reducing climate change impact on the community. If those communities are aware of what is coming in, they'll be able to prepare and also be able to adapt of what is coming. That's the extreme weather event. Next slide, please. Okay, what is the role of Eko-Connect? You know, we are trying to see how we can bring in partnership between Nigerian Meteorological Agency and also Eko-Connect. Then we can see the United Nations General, that's United Secretary General called on. There's also a slogan of action to the people and communities. That is, there is need for collaboration, there's need for memorandum of understanding between Eko-Connect and statutory authorities, that's NIMET. Then UN calls for extreme weather warning system for everyone. So the role of Eko-Connect is to help to bridge the gap between Nigerian Meteorological Agency and the end users. Next slide, please. The Eko-Connect should also initiate collaborative adaptation research through stakeholders engagement, communication, capacity building, and strategic partnership. So what we are trying to do here is that Eko-Connect is building a bridge between NIMET and the end users, that's the communities who are being affected by climate change through adaptation measures and through communication, because most times we have the science, but we need someone who can break those information to be a little bit easy and accessible to the communities in different languages through different mediums, and also capacity building, trying to train them Then Eko-Connect activities need to be gender sensitive. Needs to, to actually understand that those who are affected by climate change are basically more are the women and children. Then there is also need for us to, the Eko-Connect activities to have gender responsive in outcome, contributing towards a situation of gender equality in a changing climate. So women should be empowered. Women should, it should not just be a man thing, but women in the communities, especially those who are not educated, women in the market and women in different villages should also be empowered to transit into using of charcoal and also using renewable energy system. Next slide, please. Then Eko-Connect with its reach could also reach, because we believe Eko-Connect has the capacity, and we are trying to leverage on the capacity of the Eko-Connect to reach the rural communities with early warning and information on what weather we do and what weather is capable of doing. We live every day, we wake up in the morning, we need to know what is happening, whether it's too cold or too hot, or whether it's going to rain, or whether we are going to have dust haze. Currently over the northern cities, we're having dust haze, which can affect air flight cancellation. It can also disrupt movement of transports. Next slide, please. Okay, we also have a product we call Nigeria Meteorological Agency product, which we call Seasonal Climate Prediction. It's also on a mobile app. Yesterday we had a Seasonal Climate Prediction 2023. It's a product of Nigeria Meteorological Agency, where we roll out what the weather is going to be like in the year, looking at the rainfall onset, rainfall cessation, and the length of the growing season for the farmers to actually know for their planning, so that you can cut losses. Then this mobile app was developed so that we're able to reach out to especially the young teaming generation that are basically everybody has a mobile phone now. So this initiative is for us to make the weather information accessible to all. Then these are the products, the onset date, the cessation date, the specific crop calendar, the seasonal rainfall amount, because the farmers need to know how much rain are we expecting so that they can plan, especially because there are some crops that crop requirement, water crop requirement has a specific amount. So anything that exceeds it can lead to water logging and crop loss. Next slide, please. Thank you for your attention.
Your mic is on mute.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I was saying that we all know what NIMET is trying to do with regards to bringing awareness to the global climate change. So as the time goes on, we'll develop this collaboration with NIMET to bring more of this information to our community. All right, so thank you for that, Dr. Ifeka. So please remember, if you do have questions for him, please you can use the Q&A chat, or if you want to ask it verbally, you can wait till the end of the session where you'll be given the chance to speak to the presenter. So with that aside, we can go to our next presentation, which is also the last presentation for the day. So this presentation will be by Mr. Owen Yua, who's the CEO of Eko-Connect. His topic will be the Campus Technology Internship Program, which is the EO and Citizen Science. All right, so over to you, sir.
Thank you. Mama. First of all, let's just can you confirm you can see my slides?
Yes, sir, it's coming up. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, first of all, before I start, I'd just like to thank our two previous speakers for their time and for their wonderful presentations. And what I will try to do with my presentation is sort of connect everything that they've both spoken about and what Eko-Konnect is hoping we can achieve this year by collaborating with communities of practice like African women in GIS, and also working with Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET. So Eko-Konnect, we're a national research and education network. And one of the reasons why Eko-Konnect, our core areas of competence is to build networks and systems that researchers can use in terms of output of research information and publications, and also to provide services that allow researchers to be productive and for students to enhance their development and learning. Now, Earth observation and geographical information systems, or GIS, is a very specialized area. And many of you in the audience might be in this session. I'm wondering how this actually may relate to you in terms of who you are and your practice. But increasingly, as the previous speaker mentioned, there's been a lot of extreme weather conditions or situations that have been emerging around the globe. You know, it's not just the global south that's suffering this, or developing nations. We're finding that severe weather, climate situations are occurring everywhere. And even in the global north, where they may have more or better infrastructure to deal with the impacts of extreme weather, they're actually having some severe losses. I think in Germany last year, they had severe floodings in Germany, and hundreds of lives were lost in Germany, which is, you know, one of the most advanced countries in the world.
So just to, sorry, apologies for coming in here, but your screen is flickering a bit. So
what?
It's flickering, your screen share. Yeah.
I don't know why.
So stop and share, stop the share again.
Is it any better?
Okay, it seems to have stopped.
Well, is it still flickering now? Or should I?
No. You can try the slideshow. Okay, it's still flickering.
Still flickering. Let's see. Let me see if it's a bandwidth issue, so I'll switch off my video. Is this any better?
Seems to have stopped for now, so I'll keep checking it.
Okay. You stopped me in mid-flow, so I wasn't quite sure where I was.
Talking about.
I think I was talking about the impact of severe climate change, which is happening across the globe, and it's happening very rapidly. I was making the example of in Germany, where there was a severe flooding in the summer months of last year, and hundreds of German citizens died. And of course, we know that there's been a lot of flooding in Nigeria, and obviously that has put a strain on the food security situation for Nigeria. And this is happening, quite a lot across the globe. These extreme climate situations or climate change. And so I think the point I was trying to raise was that many of the audience may wonder what their relationship is with this particular session that is specifically dealing with this. Well, obviously, as human beings, we're all susceptible to the impact of weather or climate change. So just from a personal point of view, it's of interest to us. But even from a professional point of view, this has become very, very important to all of us. Now, the global kind of Earth observation ecosystem that involves specialists and researchers in GIS, food security, climate, soil science, climate science, and all of that, they kind of form a kind of niche industry to try to collect data and analyze data to predict weather forecast, the effects on soil, so predictions can be made about crop yield and the like. But the increasing severe weather conditions that we're experiencing across the globe means that even with the data that we're getting from all of these Earth observation satellites and all the other weather gathering devices that are around the globe, may not be enough. We maybe need more data to be able to analyze and anticipate changes in climate, extreme weather conditions, and situations with what's going on in the Earth itself. And so the industry itself actually recognized that though they even produce a lot of data, they recognize that other sectors, other industries, other researchers have got specialist knowledge and specialist infrastructure that can probably help in taking the weather data, analyzing it quicker or better, leveraging the technologies, the repository technologies, the cloud systems, the physical research and education networks available to move data from one place to another for analysis. And the fact that you've got the research and education community of skilled researchers who can bring their knowledge and their expertise to bear in what is becoming a very urgent issue to address with regards to weather. So the geo industry, the global Earth observation industry, is actually making concerted efforts to reach out to other industry sectors to work with them in order to be able to take the best of what they provide and then what these other industries provide to continue to build solutions, analyze data, so we can start to combat the climate forces that are causing so much havoc across the country and across the globe. And in doing this, the industry is actually recognizing that a whole lot of capacity development needs to take place. More people need to be exposed to Earth observation or global Earth observation systems or geographical, geospatial information systems, weather mapping or weather devices. We need more and more people to actually get exposed to this industry sector. And it really needs to start at a very young age. And we know that the youth tend to be the champions of combating climate change. So they're recognizing as well that the involvement of youth really needs to be important, and that needs to be done at a very early stage, even starting from primary school level into secondary school levels. And one of the key advocates now about combating the problems of climate change are young women. So we have the young lady from Europe, Greta Thunberg, and some of her colleagues. Her other colleague, I forget her name, from Kenya. They have become global figureheads for advocacy and challenging the world to review their lifestyles in order to combat climate change. Now, but from our perspective, Eko-Konnect, we're a research and education network. And as a research and education network, we have infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, and networking infrastructure that the geo industry can leverage to improve analysis of the data that they generate from their satellites, and also the transmission of that data. They also know that researchers and research and education networks have the technologies in terms of databases, repositories, where we use a lot of infrastructure to index data. It means that with indexing and identifiers, we're able to better analyze and share data for quicker analysis and assertions of impact analysis of the data that's being analyzed. So it's become very important that the industry is open up to others. And in that as well, the capacity building has become a very big part of what needs to increase in the geo industry. And as a result of that, one of the issues with Eko-Konnect was that we have been involved in capacity building, particularly gender-sensitive capacity building in other areas in STEM disciplines. And we're considering that we're now at a point where we need to be collaborating with other communities of practice and the industry experts like NIMET. So on that backdrop, I would just sort of run through my presentation. Eko-Konnect, we run a program called the Campus Technology Internship Program. And we want to see how we can merge this program with Earth observation and citizen science. So and of course, for the audience here, the idea as well is that if you're interested in this program, or your institution might be interested in this program, then you can actually reach out to us as well. And we could see how we can establish the program in your institutions. So the Campus Technology Internship Program, we recruit students from various disciplines to engage in project-driven learning. The projects we tend to engage in are STEM-based, and what we do is we kind of advertise, and students from any discipline can apply. Then we interview the students, and then we take a select number of students to engage in the program. Ideally, these programs will work on projects to support infrastructure and systems within the campus that the student belongs to. But we're always looking at projects that can impact wider society. And the way the program works is we use methodologies of challenge-driven education for the problem-based learning. The whole challenge-driven education methodology is a whole webinar in itself, but we use a particular methodology and approach to how we train students that are recruited. So the goals of the campus internship program, I mean, it's the Campus Technology Internship Program, it's CTIP is the acronym. We want to develop students' problem solving and critical thinking skills. Obviously, we focus at the tertiary education level, but we do recognize that a lot even needs to be done at the secondary school level, if not even primary. But in terms of our resources and our current commitments, our focus is on the tertiary education sector. So we want to develop their critical thinking skills, their practical skills, and also allow them to be innovative and creatively think, creative expression, which may not really be allowed for them in their actual academic course. The major thing with the academic course is to actually undergo the program and make sure they learn that and come out with the appropriate degree. But with the CTIP program, we provide the flexibility to allow these students to express themselves. And we try to bring some innovative approaches as well as innovative devices that they can use to enhance their learning in these programs. As has been said by both previous speakers, we're very conscious of the disadvantage that women and girls tend to have particularly in the STEM fields. So we make a concerted effort with our programs to make sure that at least 50% of our recruits are women. And in fact, we have two kind of sub groups or sub communities in our CTIP, ICT for girls, and then our collaboration with the wider West African Research and Education Network, WACREN. We run programs specifically for women, and that program is called Women in WACREN. And some of our capacity building projects and workshops that we do specifically with girls and women in Nigeria is called our ICT for Girls program. And again, along with the other goals, we want to develop, the entrepreneurship mindset in students. So the CTIP strategy involves collaborating with the university faculty. So first of all, we have to get the buy-in of the university management to kind of run this extracurricular program. And because usually our programs are based around technology, programming, engineering, etc., we tend to also want to incorporate or get the endorsements or cooperation of the ICT units of these institutions so that we can work with them in the actual implementation of the programs. So we recruit and train students, and the program duration is usually 1 year, but it can be extended based on the fact that we come across very exceptional students. In fact, in the past, we've run this program and I've actually had some of the students in this program actually join Eko-Konnect as staff after they graduated from university. So it can also be a good recruiting ground for Eko-Konnect as well, because we identify very able and competent students during the CTIP period. So this diagram sort of just shows the workflow of how it works. We do some publicity on the campus with the permission of the management. Then we do the intern recruitment. Then we run an orientation day, or usually it actually pans about 2 or 3 days. And then we now define a set of activities or projects that we want to do for that year on that campus. And these projects, like I said, are usually based around some STEM-based project learning activity. So there's some initial training on coding, using devices. So those programs are run just to skill up these students, and then further learning actually takes place through the actual CTIP activities or projects that is undertaken. And although, like I said, the focus is on STEM, The project is it's multidisciplinary, so we, as much as possible, try to bring in people from other disciplines to engage in these projects. At the end of the projects, we evaluate the interns, and then they sort of graduate, and that's how the process works. But sometimes projects are established that can now continue to grow or be extended to other campuses. So the structure of the program involves Eko-Konnect. Eko-Konnect will nominate one of our staff who sort of acts as a consultant to the program, and we work with a coordinator, a CTIP coordinator. That is typically, a CTIP coordinator is typically somebody from within the institution that aligns with our goals and objectives. So, for example, typically a young lecturer, maybe a PhD lecturer who's not, an early career researcher who is sort of, in transition from being a student into being a career researcher or lecturer. So they kind of form that midway between external consultants like Eko-Konnect, and then they interface with the students or the interns, who is represented by a student lead. And then from the institution's part, where a person is a CTIP chairperson is normally nominated for the institution for oversight. And then there's a representative, ICT representative, typically the director of ICT on the campus or somebody of that ilk, sort of representing the institution side of things, just for governance and ensuring that everybody is kind of working on the same page. So typical program activities that we embark on, before projects start proper, we try to cover areas that we think will be important to any project we want to embark on. And these have typically been the areas of Python programming, coding generally, but we've had a particular emphasis on Python because for some reasons, we explained those during the orientation program. Networking, the use of physical computing, and by physical computing, obviously we mean computers, but we specialize in using, innovative devices like Arduino boards or Raspberry Pis. These are handheld devices that have as much computing or capacity as our traditional laptops and desktop computers. And in fact, some of these devices have extra features and functionality that in many ways make them even more functional than laptops and desktops. So they're small devices and they're relatively cheap. And we use these devices a lot in our work. We also try to cover issues around internet governance so that our interns are really au fait and understand internet governance issues. So as we're all using the internet, the issues of privacy, internet freedoms, security, all of these higher level internet governance issues that one needs to be aware of in an increasingly digital world. We address those in the early parts of the programs. And then after that's done, then we try to go into specific projects. Now, prior to our awareness about GIS and Earth observation, one of the projects, CTIP projects that we undertook was a weather mapping project. So the idea with that project, it was based on using these physical computing devices like Raspberry Pis with some Python coding to build weather stations. So the components of the weather station, like I said, the core of the device was a Raspberry Pi, and then these were connected by electronic bedboards to weather sensor devices that were able to capture the various weather information. And this information is collated from the sensors into the Raspberry Pi, where we have some code that is written in Python to take this data and export this data into a database or an online cloud system for further analysis and display of weather data information in a hosted solution that Eko-Konnect hosts in its cloud infrastructure. So prior to the COVID situation, this was a project that we were doing. And for this particular project, we decided, because we felt it was an exciting project, we decided to make it an exclusive ICT for Girls, Women in WACREN project. So this particular project was a project that we only involved female students and female lecturers in the program, and we ran some hackathons and workshops. The picture here is showing the project as it was undertaken in Covenant University. So they did about an 8-day hackathon to build these weather stations. And these weather stations, like I said in the previous slide, collected the climate data, and then this data was exported into a database or cloud database, and then we're able to make graphs and analyze the weather data. So the girls did this for, like I said, I think it was an 8 to 10 day program. So Covenant University hosted girls from within their university and girls from other campuses on this program. And they were able to build these weather stations. I think they built about 3 or 4. And then on the final day, they actually presented the weather stations and how the data was collated and analyzed in the cloud. And they demonstrated this to the principal officers of Covenant University. So the slide you see on the bottom right, you can see the ladies explaining the data that was collated and showing them the mapping, the weather station. You can see those anemometers for wind, and they were showing the principal officers. And they were so impressed that they insisted that, look, the next program or this program, we need to, the boys need to be involved. They were really quite impressed with what they had done. Now, what this weather mapping project, and indeed many of the other projects that we engage in, leverages what is an aspect of open science that is called citizen science. Now, NIMET is the organization or parastatal in Nigeria specifically tasked with collating weather data and being able to provide weather forecast and weather information to the public and to specific industries. And I think there are other GIS-specific organizations and consultancies that specialize in this kind of work and analysis. But citizen science is a definition or an aspect of open science that allows ordinary citizens to be able to do similar things using maybe cheaper devices, and maybe not as specialized as what the industry experts would use, but cheap enough and good enough for ordinary citizens, and in our case, we're saying ordinary citizens like students, to be able to use what they can afford or affordable devices and then their own intellectual capacity to effectively do what the industry experts are doing as well. And because this industry needs more and more data, if you can actually have these citizen science projects running across a number of university campuses where you're collating all of this data, you have a situation where you effectively are providing meaningful data that can also enrich the data that our industry experts and NIMED have to even improve on their own outputs and forecasting and predictions. And so this for us was like something very interesting that, we need to be able to, that's Eko-Konnect, and our programs need to reach out to the likes of NIMET and like the National Space Agency or Space Agency for Research and Development, and NIMET, and other communities of practice like the African women in GIS, and look at how we can collaborate to get more data, store data in a structured manner, and provide this data to industry for even better data or more data that they require. And so when we talk about Earth observations and geographic information systems, the industry itself has acknowledged that beyond everything that they are already doing, and, you know, Earth observation data is having its data, you know, address societal problems like, you know, all the climate change issues. It's become very crucial. You know, there are lots of innovations that are already available that, you know, for GIS, Google Earth is one of them. There's a lot of other open source software applications and projects that are ongoing for analysis of the world. You know, there's one project, OpenStreetMap, is a very popular project around the world, and it's a community driven project where people are mapping the streets and mapping their local areas. You know, it all helps with the global systems. And there are also increasingly the use of surveillance devices like drones to take pictures, to analyze soil, you know, or take pictures, and then those pictures can be converted into information that can be used to analyze soil and then help with soil analysis. And they're also used in other areas as well. Just Chidima, you know, talked a lot about the women and what is being done. And in fact, I met a lady who works in Nigeria. She's a Kenyan lady. She's from Kenya. She works in Nigeria, and she's a young lady, and she's a drone pilot. And one of the things she does is one of her surveillance duties is to actually monitor the oil, part of the oil pipelines for Nigeria. A particular section of oil pipeline is under her surveillance to ensure that there's no damage or sabotage to the oil pipeline. But in addition to that, she uses her drones to do a lot of other rock and soil surveillance. So, you know, these are very exciting and interesting things. And women, though they're few, as Chidima had mentioned in her presentation, we want more and more women, we want more and more students to get into this area where we can combine the expert disciplines of climate, the soil analysis, climate analysis, STEM subjects, research and education, networking. Everybody we want to bring all of that together in a collaborative effort to build capacity among our students and to be able to provide solutions and data that can enhance the work that NIMET does. So I think this last slide is just touching once more on the capacity building collaborations that we as Eko-Konnect want to engage in. No doubt other communities of practice also have their own ideas, so we're very open to collaborations and imbibing or lining up with ideas that other communities have. But from our own perspective, this is what we are hoping we can do in this year, 2023, extend our programs to include Earth observation and GIS. In order to do that, we're going to need to collaborate with many organizations, NIMET, African Women in GIS, and on a regional or West African level as well. The plans are afoot to have some collaborations with WASCAL. The whole idea is to make more weather data available through having more weather stations. So, you can imagine if we could have a network of weather stations on all university campuses, and I'm sure that's the kind of data that NIMET could utilize. And as we embark on these kind of projects, we're hoping that we can engage in collaborations and support from, the bigger providers, the ESRIs, and also the owners of the satellites, because they too are seeking collaborations at this kind of granular level as well to get more information. So really, what next? Well, from an Eko-Konnect perspective, we want to engage in collaboration discussions with some of the key agencies in Nigeria and communities of practice, so we can define a series of capacity building workshops and deployment of weather stations on our campuses. So we'll be leveraging our own research and education network infrastructure and connections on campus to try and make that happen. And no doubt the organizations we're collaborating with can bring their connections, their communities, their expertise to bear as well. And we want to sort of have a clear kind of roadmap or, plan of action for 2023 defined by the end of this quarter. I think in March, our regional network, WACREN, are holding their conference, which is a physical conference, not virtual like ours, or I think it might be hybrid. And I think one of the things that WACREN will be doing as well on a regional level is looking to establish a similar kind of activity that's kind of regional based. So that's really our interest in this area. We know it's very important, and these are our contact details. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So that will be our last presenter for the day. And as discussed earlier, so please, now is the time for questions and answer. You've sort of just heard what Eko-Konnect has been doing with regards to CTIP, Earth observations, and trying to build up our community, which you can also be among. So let's look if we have some of the charts. Or okay, most of the questions in the Q&A has been answered. So
I want to read that.
Question. Okay. All right. So one of the questions we had was, can those in secondary school be allowed to join the group? That I'm sure that's about the women in GIS, which has been answered live that yes, that they could join. And also the next question here was, from your experience, are there any time when NIMET weather prediction fail? So Dr. Ifeka responded, the NIMET weather forecasts are evaluated daily, monthly, and quarterly to assess the performance. Over the years, NIMET weather forecast has performed very well because we adopt modern scientific tool for Global Research Center. For more information, visit NIMET. So please, you can always visit the NIMET site just to confirm some weather forecast as you require. So let's look at the chat if there's any questions in the chats.
If there are any questions or comments and you wish to speak, you can raise your hand as well.
Okay, yes, please do use the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. Raise your hand, and I would give you the opportunity to unmute yourself and speak in this meeting. So David says, thank you for your presentation. Could you also liaise with the National Remote Sensing in JAWS? Okay. If that's something I don't know if you want to talk more about that, or maybe give you the opportunity to speak more on that if you want.
The national what? The National Remote
Sensing, yeah.
All right. We'll look into it. I don't know what that organization is. So David, if it's something you want to embellish on, let us know. But of course, like I said in my presentation, we want to liaise with different organizations with the goal of building the capacity, but actually delivering something that is useful for the society in general.
Okay. I'm still looking out for any message.
So I do have a question. I think Dr. Ifeka is still here. And forgive me because I may not have seen all of your presentation. So forgive me if you actually touched on it in your presentation. But what capacity building or training activities does NIMET engage in? And of course, you've already alluded to in your presentation that there's need for collaboration, and definitely we will be exploring that with you and your colleagues at NIMET. But I was just wondering what existing training programs there are that NIMET currently undertakes. Don't know if Dr. Ifeka can answer that.
Hello, Mr. Owen.
Hello, Dr.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, if I can get to where you are asking about the training, NIMET training, or can you come again with your question?
Yeah, yes, I was just wondering what NIMET training activities currently exist.
Okay, NIMET training activities, because we have observers and we have forecasters. So we have training for observers, that's for those at the airport, aeronautical meteorological observers. Then we also have training for meteorologists and forecasters. So we have it quarterly, and some are depending on their level of training, especially those who are educated that in terms of degree. We have for those for masters, and then we have also local training workshops that we collaborate with other research agencies. Then we also engage on online training, free online training, and also we have the World Meteorological Organization. So it's like a body that's an umbrella body that set up trainings for different departments and in NIMET. So NIMET is not in isolation with other MET organizations around the world.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're looking forward to reaching out to NIMET and even faculty as well, because almost every university has a GIS, or I'm not quite sure what it's the departments are related to research in this area, but we specifically want to see how we can collaborate with NIMET to bring some training to our university campuses, to our students, in that whole effort to get people more aware. And maybe, as I said in my presentation, we can contribute some things to Nigeria, to NIMET. So, for example, sometimes when I'm watching the weather, or they will say, well, in Lagos today, there will be no rainfall. It's going to be a bright and sunny day. And I'm watching that weather forecast, and it's raining cats and dogs where I am. Okay. And so sometimes I wonder, is that because there's a need for more weather stations in the country, so that the weather forecasting and weather analysis can be even provided to even a greater granularity. So we can actually say that say in Lagos today, in Ikeja, this is how the weather is going to be, but in Yaba it's going to be like this. So I think that level of detail could be done if there's an increased number of weather stations. That's my layman understanding, but I might be wrong. But I don't know if you can confirm that that's the case, that with the increasing number of weather stations.
Yeah, we have a station at the airport, Murtala Muhammed International Airport. We also have at Marine. We also have at our regional training center at Oshodi. So we also have other automated weather stations at various universities, but it is not enough. The more weather station you have, the more accurate your forecast becomes. I also want to add that most of the weather TV presentation you're seeing is just one part of our product. We also have weather outlook we send out through emails. We have weather bulletin. So hopefully if I can get Eko-Konnect email, where I can forward it to our central forecast office, so that daily you can get point forecast of, as aside the one you watch at the television, there are other products that we can send to your email so that you can have point forecast of various cities.
Okay, thank you very much. And can I ask, the whole concept of citizen science collated data, would that be something useful for NIMET if it's done in
Exactly. Yes, even if we can get like volunteers that we have, like in the US, we have older people who do it for fun. It helps to get more data.
Yeah. So that was exactly my thinking. So yeah, clearly we'll be reaching out to yourself and to Professor Uko and to NIMET, as well as the likes of Chidima, who happens to intersect between faculty and her women in GIS community. Yes. So she would be a very very useful kind of collaborator, aggregator, because she wears a number of hats as well. And Chidima, you did mention about you were very boisterous on the gender aspects, and that's very good, because we do need more women in the space, definitely, because like you said, in STEM generally, and I'm sure in this particular area, GIS, geo in particular, I'm sure there are very few female practitioners. So anything that we in Eko-Konnect are doing through our programs, we want to bring in, women communities to ensure that they are not underrepresented in anything we do going forward. You talked about opportunities for women to attend conferences, and the challenges of trying to attend conferences, not just in West Africa, but beyond. But I noted that down, and I wanted to ask you, Chidima, what efforts are being made to have some of these conferences hosted in Nigeria? You know, Nigeria is the biggest country in Africa, but I don't really see much of these international conferences being looking at Nigeria as a venue. So I wonder if you have some insights on that.
Okay, on the hosting on conferences in Nigeria, although like last year we had Data Fest Africa and was hosted in Lagos. We had one in Abuja, and of course those around attended. But most of these organizations like hosting the conferences where it is more convenient for them. For example, Esri UC conferences is in San Diego, US. So even though they, of course, they also look at their, I believe their customer base. And Africa, we know, we lean towards free things like open source software and paid software. So all these important conferences, we don't have them down here because of some different reasons.
And it's a good point you mentioned there about, Esri, one of the bigger organizations in this particular space. And, a lot of what, what you just said leads into what I had said about a lot of these bigger organizations tended to have a lot of proprietary systems. They have closed communities, but because of the frequency of occurrence of extreme climate activities across the globe, even these big organizations like Esri are now actually opening up a whole lot more. You can access a lot of training material now free of charge from the Esri websites, and they're becoming far more open and far more inclusive in wanting to collaborate, across the globe. So one of the things that we need to be able to demonstrate in this part of the world is that there are some coherent, decisive activities that are going on. Doesn't matter how, even if it's on a very low level, but if these organizations start to see, coordinated, cohesive, decisive activity in terms of capacity building, in the terms of deployment of weather stations, whether they be open citizen devices or more specialized devices, and they see that data is being collated, I'm very confident that these organizations will want to engage. So we as a community, we need to leverage our communities and what we have to really start to deliver things as well, just to build up our own society, and the more we do that, so if we can collaborate, your programs and our programs can collaborate, we can reach out to, other relevant organizations or consultancies and start to decisively do things, engage in a lot of activities. I think that broader support from the big organizations in this space will come, because they're showing the signs that they want to do that. So we have just about a few minutes left. I don't know if anyone else has any questions or any comments. Okay. On that note, then, Ola, do you think we should round up?
Yes, I think we can round up. So just like to maybe on a closing note, just to remind everyone about Eko-Konnect, please, you can always keep in touch with us on via our websites and on our social media, just to keep updated on what we do with regards to the National Research and Education community. Please feel free to join us. We are always looking out for your ideas on how we can best work together in these areas. So like I said earlier, all the recordings and the presentations will be made available to everyone that's registered for this event. So you'd all be getting a mail with regards to that, where you can view the videos and download the presentation as well. We do appreciate your feedbacks as well. So please also feel free to reach out also on the contacts on this our website. So thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And to just sort of finally close, I wish everyone a good remainder of the week and weekend ahead. And in closing the conference for this year, we sincerely expect that next year's conference will be a physical conference, or maybe a hybrid. So we'll also allow people to engage online as well, but we definitely will be looking to resume hosting of the conference at a physical venue for next year. So I'd like to thank the speakers today, Dr. Ifeka Adolphus and Chidima Umiogu, beg your pardon. Thank you for your time and the efforts to present today. And really, for all the speakers at the conference this week, we want to say a very big thank you for their time and effort in presenting. And for all the participants, Nigerian and foreign participants, I think I can see some names familiar from the WACREN West African community. So thank you for also joining us in today's session. And so we'd just like to thank everyone. My chair, our chair, Professor Wadia, is unfortunately unavailable today to formally close the conference. So on his behalf, we end the users conference for 2023, and a big thank you to everyone. Goodbye.